Welcome to another repair video. In this video I have an LG 42LF65 LCD TV, and the problem with it is there's a noise on the audio and it takes a few minutes for this noise to clear. I will just turn it on and you will hear what I'm talking about. I just turned it off. It's too loud to listen to, but I've been told by the customer that this clears when it warms up. So the first thing I'm going to look at is, as always on LG, I will look at the power supply and capacitor, see if there are any bulging. That's my first bit of fault finding on this unit. I will put it down in its face and take the back off. I won't show the sequence of taking off screws. It's obvious on the back with what you have to do. I have the back off and I'm ready to do a bit of work on the power supply, but a quick word on safety. We are working with dangerous high voltages that can kill on the power supply. If you're ever working on a power supply, don't use both your hands, only use one. Put the other hand in your pocket so you don't complete a pat across your arms and shoulders and your heart, which can kill you. Just be careful, and if you're not comfortable working on live mains, just give it to someone else to do. I'm looking at the power supply, and yes, I can see a lot of capacitors bulging on this, and you can see them there. Let's get them in there. These are all bulging. This line here of capacitors bulging, and also there's I don't know if you're getting that one there in this shot. There's the one there. That's getting that's bulging as well, and one just underneath this heatsink. I'm not going to bother checking voltage just when I see that, because I'm going to ripple on the supplies. Anyway, I'm going to just replace all those capacitors. I will do up a list of what the values are at the end of the video as well. I'm not going to show the unsoldering process. I have lots of videos on that already. So I'm going to pause the camera right now. I should point out, you don't only look for bulging caps. You can see here on these two capacitors here, they look like they got hot and the plastic wrapper on it has shrunk. If you see that on the capacitor, it's a sign they have to replace it as well. I could just do all the other capacitors and it probably work. There is slight bulges on them as well, but you don't normally get you don't always get bulging on them. If you see capacitors with that plastic wrapper shrunk like it has, replace the capacitors as well. I have all the capacitors soldered in. Something you have to be careful about is these two capacitors here. They can store a charge, a hefty charge, that if you put your hand across the legs of it on the far side, you will get a shock. It can leave a nasty burn on the palm of your hand. Or if you have your one hand on ground and you actually touch on the live side of that, the positive side of it, you'll get a fair belt out of it too. I wouldn't advise doing that. So the easiest way to discharge that is using the normal filament bulb, 240 AC filament bulb that you have in a lamp. The two wires that normally plug into the wall, take them out of the plug and put them across the two capacitors, and that way it won't discharge and make a dark and spark, which can damage semiconductors. It just takes away the charge of the, you'll see the light, it'll flash on very brightly and then go off nearly immediately when it's discharged. Okay. And what I've noticed about the power supply. The only capacitors, type of capacitors that are gone bulging are these coloured ones here, and the name on them is there's a company name on them, Capxon, CAPXON, and none of the other capacitors on the power supply made by a different manufacturer are bulging. And I find that this type of capacitor anywhere, I find it in any brand, you can find any brand going, that they bulge like this. If you order capacitors online, eBay or something, and you get this type made by this company, I would just return them, because you're only looking for trouble about 3 or 4 months down the road. Right, we're going to put this power supply back in. Is there anything else I can show you before I do? Make sure that you haven't breached any of the capacitors with any little bits of solder. Use an eyepiece on it. Make sure you don't get any splashes of solder back into the power supply. Like you could be on solder up here like this, and you get drips of solder going down, and they can short out pins on the ICs, and you could blow the power supply to serious damage. So make sure you work cleanly and don't create a mess. Right, now we're going to put this power supply back in the unit and see what happens. Power supply has to slide onto a little tongue that you have out here. Line up the holes, and there's 4 screws holding this in. Make sure the torque of your screwdriver is set to a minimum, otherwise it'll strip the threads. I should have mentioned when I was doing the capacitors that these are polarity conscious. Make sure you line up the negative with the there's lines on one side of the printed circuit board. If you look at the mark on the printed circuit board, make sure they're lined up correctly. We don't want to put the negative to the positive. You'll have smoke coming out of the capacitor, or worse than that, you could blow the power supply. Some of the semiconductor, which a lot of that semiconductor items cannot be sourced as spares. Okay. Be gentle with these. Make sure you're on correctly. You don't want to bend any pins. Press them home firmly, make sure they're fully down. Same with these. And not to forget our mains comes in here. Okay. Sometimes when you get capacitors, you get replacement capacitors, and they can be a bit taller than the ones you're taking out. And you see this heatsink, it's very close to the capacitors. Sometimes you have them touching it, and you can't get it in. So it's no harm to put a little small bit of a bend on that, take it off and put in a vise and just put a little bit of a bend so it's up a little bit. Don't overdo the bending. Okay, we'll plug it in now and hope we don't have smoke coming out of it. Okay. The light is on. Okay. sounds okay. I can tell by the backlights are up at this stage. I'll just reposition the camera and the screen. Okay, I'm ready to switch on now. I have a signal connected through the SCART. Switch on. Okay, it's a test pattern. And you can see, sound is okay, picture quality is okay. Okay, that's done. I'm going to give you a list of the capacitors now that are required to repair this. You're going to need 680 UF capacitors rated at 25 volts, right? And they are C202, C204, C205, C234, C235, and C227. They're all 680 UF 25 volts. You also got to replace then C203, and they're rated at 220 UF at 35 volts. Okay, we have two of these to replace of the next ones, C207 and C218. They're rated at 220 UF 25 volt, high temperature, 105 degree. Also, we have C208, C209, C210, rated at 1000 UF, 35 volts, and they're high temperature as well, 105 degree. All I can say when you're doing this repair, if you're not comfortable with working at mains, give it to someone else to do. Also, I'll repeat myself that be careful of that capacitor, discharge it. I use a bulb, some people use resistors going across it. Then carefully remove your solder with solder wick. And what I normally do is with my wick, before I use the wick, I would freshen up the solder with some fresh solder, and then when it's nice and fresh on the print, I use the solder wick to remove all the solder. Just a little bit, that's all you need. You don't have to put piles on it. It just makes the solder remove easier than if you just try to remove the old solder with the solder wick on its own. Okay, hope that's some help to someone out there. Thanks for watching.